Hello and welcome to Full Tuck, the Wingspan podcast with me, Aidan.
And with me, Adam, and welcome back, everyone. It's nice to be back just chit-chatting with you, Aidan. And also welcome to any new listeners we've got after our game with Flan last week. The video we released it's one of the highest ever viewed videos we've ever released. So if we've taken any Flan fans and they've joined our show, you're more than welcome, and we hope you enjoy our content. How have you been this week, Aids?
Yeah, I like that. Can we call them flans? Is that what they are? Are you guys flans? If we've got any flans joining us for this week's episode after last week, then hopefully you can become full tuckers as well.
If they're flans, then what are ours? Are ours tuckers?
They've got to be tuckers, right? Got to be tuckers.
Tuckeranians? I don't know. Right. If anyone wants to come, they're not a nationality, are they? If anyone wants to email in with what our with what our ultras want to be called, and for anyone that's not a football fan, that's an English reference, is calling fans ultras. So if anyone wants to email in with what our fans should be called, we'll be taking submissions for the next few weeks. How does that sound?
If Taylor Swift fans are Swifties, what are we?
Yeah,
you know.
Well, Tuckies just doesn't sound right.
Really doesn't work. No, Tuckies really doesn't work, right? No, there's got to be something there.
No, but flans works. I like flans.
Flans does work. Flans is excellent. So, okay. Look, on a serious note, if we've got any new flans joining us this week after our online game with Flan last week, welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show. This is a little bit back of a kind of our classic format, I suppose, of basically mostly listening to Adam and I chat about Wingspan, which is hopefully pretty good. Make some very bad jokes, crack each other up, and hopefully we crack some of you up at home occasionally too.
Yeah, wind each other up, I think, is the
there's a
term
lot
you
of
meant
that.
to say. Find how I can get under Aidan's skin.
On that note, actually, Adam, I've heard you've had a very good game of Wingspan you want to brag about. Is that right?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to set me up for some really nice thing. I had a really great weekend, actually. I've just been at home with my family, and I played 5 games with Mark, my brother, and my mum. And so outside, I said this a few weeks ago on the show, lovely warm weather. There's nothing better than playing a game of Wingspan outside. 3-player, so the game is fully optimised as far as I'm concerned. Pink powers are balanced with hummingbirds. And I would like to take this opportunity to fully redact any previous criticism I've had of hummingbirds. I'm a full convert now. So we had some really good games, including a high score for me. So 188 was my highest score this weekend, and it's my highest score ever. It was insane. It was genuinely insane. And you know what the most insane thing was? It was a grasslands chain that did it.
Really?
No way. So in that grasslands chain, I got eggs all the time, but across the other 4 games, I got eggs twice. So that is as much as Jeff says. So Jeff's a sort of friend of the show and fan. This is for new. I'm going to talk the rest of the show as if we've got new listeners. He's got a lot of stats, and he keeps saying that this is the death of the grasslands, and I kind of agree with him. In 4 other games, I got eggs twice. That's just how unnecessary a project getting eggs is. But this game, it really hinged on my opening hand. So my opening hand, the 2 that I kept 3, but the 2 big hitters were the white-throated swift, which is a bird that we just don't talk about enough. It is a base game bird.
Crazy good bird.
Yeah, when activated, tuck. So it's a tuck to lay. So tuck a card from your hand behind this bird if you do lay 1 egg on any bird. And that's the thing that I think, as far as I'm aware, at least in the earlier iterations of the game, I don't know if the fan expansion packs have any birds that allow you to tuck but lay on any bird, but certainly in the earlier versions of the game there are not those birds.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's the only bird that has that power, which is crazy.
And so the flexibility in an egg building chain is really quite is not to be underrated. And then, but I paired it with an America's bird called blue-black grassquit, and it's only lives in the grasslands, 2 wheats, 2 points, and it's a brown when activated power. When activated, copy the brown power of a bird in another player's grassland. And that, along with another grasslands bird, was in my opening hand. So I just thought, you know what? with hummingbirds, I can probably get enough food just from the hummingbirds just to build up this grasslands, get some extra cards, and just see where we go. Right, Mum started the game, and Mum's first play of the game was popping the killdeer in the grasslands.
Oh.
So I basically had the white-throated swift and the killdeer next to each other. But if I didn't want the killdeer, later on in the game, I just basically parasited off any of Mum's other
That's
birds in her grasslands. And so I ended up with 188 points, which is a ridiculous amount. So a nearly full board, 30 odd eggs, so many cached foods. And one other bird I'd like to give a shout out to is the neotropic cormorant. So a few weeks ago we spoke about the lesser frigate bird being one of these new generation of pink powers which are friendly. So the lesser frigate bird is a 7-pointer from the Americas expansion, and it's once between turns. When another player draws cards, you both draw an extra card. So it's like this friendly pink power that encourages you both to do it. The neotropic cormorant, which now given I've just said my mum had a grasslands engine, is also a pink power, also 7 points. Once between turns, when another player takes the lay eggs action, all players gain 1 fish from the supply and you gain 1 additional fish. So I was just full of eggs and full of fish. And listen, I made it work, Adrian. That's the thing. You've got to turn it into the points, don't you? So
it's nuts, isn't it? That's a really good example of how Americas has kind of like really added a new dimension in terms of pink powers. Like you say, we have talked about it before, but there are some brown powers in the game, and there have been since probably Oceania, which are really friendly, but so beneficial to the individual who has that power that they kind of really like almost force you to play it. You're like, I think the perfect example is the noisy miner, right? Where you're getting 3 points per activation. There's not many brown powers that do that, but obviously you're handing an egg out.
Still an average bird.
Well, I know, but I think it's an example of an early version, in terms of an Oceania expansion bird that does that. But this is like, imagine a pink power that gets you 2 food. 2 food per pink power activation. That is crazy. That's actually crazy,
Yeah, at the end of it, it really made me miss... Because when was the last time we played a game of Span together? It was 5 months ago now, must have been.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It made me... I don't know why, but it made me think you'd have really enjoyed that game. And it makes me look forward to when we're next going to play in the flesh again. Because the online games just aren't the same, are they?
Not at all. We'll be back seeing each other in person in about a month and a half's time when we come back for your wedding, Adam. So we're gonna have to try and squeeze one in then. I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah, but you're quite busy those like 10 days, aren't you? So I don't know because I thought we could maybe do an in-person recording as well at the same time. Somehow squeeze that in, but
we could maybe do it just after the ceremony, maybe.
Great idea. I've actually got I've got a few hours free straight after the ceremony, so we could just squeeze that in.
Quick ceremony, quick recording, play a game.
No one will notice.
Speech, done.
Yeah, no one will notice if the groom and best man just disappear for like 2 hours. It will be completely fine.
We're very quick. We're very quick players, so I don't think people would know.
We are. Oh, I thought you meant record on the day. I was going to say.
Oh no, sorry. I meant both. Record and play.
We're not quick recorders. Do you remember? There was that one of our friends we timed once because we used to comment that he was the slowest wingspan player in history. Sam.
And
so we timed the game. That was so funny, and he was.
And then he just rushed every move.
He rushed every move, so he ended with like 40 points. But he was statistically the quickest player because he rushed every move.
I think there's something in that though. Playing time limited, it's something in chess, isn't it? But playing a degree of time limited span where you have maybe a total amount of time that you can take in all of your turns in total. Yeah. So then you can think some and not think of the others. I think it would be a real eye opener for the players who. But I guess the obvious.
Or the score is divided by your time or something like that.
I guess the obvious counter to that is you've got a real advantage, not necessarily by being good at the game, but just by having played a lot and recognised cards. Like, as soon as you see a card, you're like, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly what the power is. Whereas someone who maybe gets the game in terms of the mechanics and the tactics, but just doesn't have that recognition of cards, would be a disadvantage. So I can see both. But I think it'd be a fun version to play sometime, particularly, as we said, in the middle of your wedding day. I think that would be really good.
I think, can we park that idea? Because Has does listen to this. So Well, moving on. How have you been?
If you're listening, please email in. Don't talk to Adam about it. Just email in, and we'll pick it up that way.
Yeah.
And,
you're welcome to join the game. It will be a 3-player game.
It'll be great.
There has been talk. My mum keeps going, so where is the Wingspan table going to be at your wedding? Where is the Wingspan table going to be? And I'm like, Mum, we just can't have you missing for 2 hours of the wedding. But yeah, anyway, let's park that for a while. I can just work on Haz on that in the background for a few weeks.
Perfect.
How have you been? You played a few games as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So been well, thank you. Been travelling around Australia. Those who are regular listeners will know that I've been. I'm on a kind of temporary.
You're a sabbatical, aren't you?
Yeah, sabbatical. That's a perfect word for it. So yeah, been away to the absolutely beautiful Whitsundays, which is an incredible group of islands off the east coast of North tropical Queensland and right at the south, the kind of south point of the Great Barrier Reef. So that was a really good trip. Saw a few cool birds, probably most notably the stone curlew, which is a new one for me, a lifer for me. So the stone curlew, I didn't really like. I think Ellie, my partner, pointed out this bird and was like, "Oh, is that a statue?" And I was like, I had a look at this bird that was across the road, and it was stood extremely still, and I thought, yeah, that's a statue. And we started moving on, and then I had a look at it again, and it had moved, and I was like, no, it is definitely not a statue. There's this very cool bird that was wandering around this island called Hamilton Island where we were staying. And apparently they're relatively common in that kind of part of Queensland, but it was very cool bird. So yeah, no, had a great time. Played some Wingspan. In fact, I've just before recording this pod played a couple of games of Wingspan with my partner Ellie. Ellie won one, I won one, but on aggregate scores I did win overall. So if you think that very clear.
Do you do that? I didn't know you aggregate scores.
No, well, we don't, but I do when mine's better.
When it's 1-1, that's how you do the decider. That's fine.
I tell you what, in the game we just played, I played a bird which normally I would look at and think, no, not in a 2-player game. But in this game, I had it in my opening hand, and I thought I didn't really have much of a card draw bird. I didn't really have a great water bird. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to play it. I'll read this card out. I want to see what you think about it, Adam, particularly as it really kind of, in recent episodes we've done our kind of, I suppose, recurring theme of presenting Adam with friendly birds and seeing what he thinks of them as someone who's, generally not a friendly bird fan. So what do you think of this, mate? Right, it's an America's expansion bird. It's called the sunbitten. It can live in either the forest or the wetlands. It eats a witchetty grub and a fish, 5 bird points, platform nest with a 2-egg capacity, and a teal round end tucking power or flocking power. All players draw 4 cards from the deck. Add one to their hands. And discard the rest. You may tuck 1 card behind this bird instead of discarding it. So essentially, if you play it in round 1, you're going to have 4 tucks behind it at the end, and those are 4 cards that you're drawing and tucking. They're not from your hand; they're just literally from the deck, tucking straight under it. But you also get 4 opportunities to look at 4 cards and take one into your hand. Obviously, everyone around the table does as well. Yeah. But in this game in particular, I was building a forest chain where I was getting eggs, I was getting food, I was getting points from predator powers, from the great hornbill, from the tawny frogmouth, plus with hummingbirds, I was occasionally drawing cards to give myself a bit of card draw. But I was like, I really just need card draw from some other way. And this gave me a way of every round essentially drawing a card that I knew was going to be a good quality card that I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And so it gave me enough card draw that I didn't have to use the wetlands maybe once or twice in the game.
What about the 12 cards that you gifted to Ellie to look at? How did they turn up for her?
Yeah, I mean, she obviously played a couple of good birds, and ultimately she won the game. So, but I liked it. I thought it was a cool. I thought it was a cool bird. I thought it's quite good fun, and plus ultimately five feather points plus 4 tucks in round 1. That's 9 points for you. Plus you get to look at some cards. That's not a bad card, for only 2 food.
On the topic of maybe rethinking birds in a 2-player game, that might bring us on to one of the things we're going to cover this week, which is we're going to do a post-match analysis of our game against Flan, much like any match of the day or cricket or rugby highlights or whatever. We're going to do a bit of punditry and really do some thinking about. Well, actually, I'm not going to give it away for those who haven't seen it. So we will only give it away in the later period. So we're going to do a bit of post-match analysis, but as ever, we're going to start with our opening hand. How does that sound, Aidan?
Yeah, it sounds great. Should we crack on with it, actually?
Yeah, so for those that are new, if we do have any new listeners, I'm still going to carry on presuming that we do. Every week we release a opening hand, and we ask you how you would play the opening hand, and so you get a photo, which is always in the show notes, and we put it on the screen as well at the same time, and we ask you to write in for the following week how you would do, and we get some really great responses, and then me and Aidan often have a bit of a debate over what we would do. So for those that don't have access or are driving or whatever, I'm going to read you our opening hand. So this is a 3-player game, and we are going third. Your opening hand, first bird, is Wilson's Snipe. Only lives in the wetlands. It eats a witch to grub. It's 5 points with a platform nest. 2 egg capacity. It's a brown when activated power. When activated, all players draw 1 card from the deck. Next is the Gyr Falcon, still don't know how to say it. It lives, this was actually in my chain in my high score, this was, and it worked really, really well. So this was it lives in the wetlands or the grasslands. It eats 2 rats. It's 3 bird points. It's a star nest with 2 egg capacity. It's a predator when activated power. When activated, draw 3 from the deck. Tuck 1 with wingspan less than 100 centimetres behind this bird and return other cards in any order to the top of the deck. Next is the Cactus Wren. It only lives in the grasslands. It eats a witch to grub and a wheat and an anything. It's 4 points with a star nest with 2 egg capacity. When activated, discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, lay 2 eggs on a bird with the same nest type as the discarded bird. Next is the, this is a risk, Chiloe, the Chiloe Widgeon, which only lives in the wetlands. It also eats a wheat and an anything. 3 points, platform nest with 4 egg capacity. When activated power. When activated, if the player to your left has at least 2 cards in their hand, draw 1 card. And lastly is the brown-headed cowbird, so only lives in the grasslands. It's 1 wheat, 3 bird points. 0 egg capacity. Once between turns, when another player takes the lay eggs action, this bird lays 1 egg on another bird with a bowl nest.
There you go. So I have just looked up how to pronounce that word, and it's Chiloe. You've done very well there.
Wow.
Very well. Well done.
For once in my life, I've got one right.
Once on this pod. We've got some bonus cards. So we've got the large bird specialist, which is birds with a wingspan of over 65 centimetres. 4 to 5 birds is 3 points, and 6 plus birds is 6. And the rodentologist, which is birds that eat rats, and it's 2 points per bird.
And in the tray, you've got the Western Tanager. It only lives in the forest. It eats 2 witched grubs and a cherry. It's worth 6 points with a bowl nest, 2 egg capacity. When activated, gain 1 witched grub or cherry from the bird feeder if there is one. Next is the Least Seed Snipe. This is from the Americas expansion. It only lives in the grasslands. It eats a wheat and an anything. It's worth 1 point. It's a platform nest as well. 5 egg capacity. Teal round end power. Round end. For each bird in your wetlands, lay 1 on this bird. 1 egg on this bird, sorry. And then lastly is the variable oyster catcher, which lives in the wetlands or the grasslands. It eats a witched grub and a fish. It's worth 6 points. Also with a pebbles nest with 2 egg capacity, and this is a when played power. When played, shuffle the discard pile, then draw cards from it equal to the number of players plus 1. Starting with you, each player keeps 1 of those cards, and you also keep the last card.
And we've got end of round goals. So round 1 is eggs in bowl nest. Round 2 is total birds. Round 3 is food in your personal supply. And round 4 is bird cards with cached foods on them. And as a reminder, it's a 3-player game. We're going third, and there is a link to a picture of the all of your opening hand, bonus cards, end of round goals, tray, everything in the show notes. So please go and have a look if you're not driving. And otherwise, Adam, what do you reckon?
Challenging opening hand is what I reckon. 3-player game, but we're going third, so I'm expecting that the tray is going to be gone, or at least the Least Seed Snipe is going to be gone. Sure. Because that is round end for each bird in your wetlands, lay 1 egg on this bird. I mean, that is an absolute. That really gets your game going. So
I think particularly with this hand, right? Like this hand really lends itself to a water chain, I think, and like if you've got that Seed Snipe, it's just. Yeah, that's so synergist. It'd be really good.
Yeah. However, I think what I am going to do is I'm going to keep. I'm just debating about Wilson Snipe. Can you believe it? I think I'm going to keep the Gear Falcon and the Cactus Wren. So Gear Falcon. So these are both fan birds actually. Gear Falcon is going to live in my wetlands, and so that is one activated. Draw 3 from the deck. Tuck 1 with wingspan less than 100 behind this bird, and then return the other cards in any order to the top of the deck. I'm hoping that with that in my wetlands, the immediate if I'm drawing cards immediately afterwards, I'll be able to draw a hummingbird, which gets me cards. And so if any of the cards that I saw for the Gear Falcon I like, I'll then be able to pick them up because I'll have put them back on the top of the deck and I'll know where they are. So that's going to go in my wetlands. And I'm going to keep the Cactus Wren in my grasslands as well. Now that's discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, lay 2 eggs on a bird with the same nest type as the discarded bird. Now, I like this bird. It's really good. It's a star nest. So obviously if you discard a card from your hand, you're going to be able to lay the 2 eggs on the star nest. But it's only got 2 egg capacity. So that's kind of why I'm also keeping the Gear Falcon, because if I need to activate it a second time, I'll be able to go on the Gear Falcon. But in theory, I can just do 1 activation of the Cactus Wren. I'll have got my 2 eggs from activating the habitat, and I'll get 2 more eggs for activating it. So that's 4 eggs pretty much off the bat. So it means I won't need to activate it for quite a long time. And then I'm going to go digging for some tree birds, and I'm going to be keeping the rodentologist, birds that eat rats, because my Gear Falcon scores. And I'm pretty happy with that, actually. What do you think, Aid? Any criticisms? Open to the floor?
No, I like it. I think you're. I've played that Cactus Wren before, actually, in a game against Ellie. When we were playing one of the campaigns, one of the fan-made campaigns. I think it's at Wings of the Tropics. And,
on that note, actually, email from Bradley this week. His follow-up to Wings of the Tropics, called Wings of the Oasis, is now out on Board Game Geeks, and there's some free advertising for you there, Bradley. I've had a quick look through it. It looks really good. So if you liked Wings of the Oasis, Wings of the Tropics, try the follow-up, which is Wings of the Oasis. He's tweaked a few things, added a few new bits in. So I'm going to play it next time I'm home with my family, which might be a bit of time. But if anyone plays it beforehand, let us know what you think.
I was thinking I'm going to play that with Ellie soon. Yeah, and if any of you out there are completely new to campaigns, we have kind of mentioned them in the pod before, but there are some fan-made campaigns out there which are essentially kind of a guide as to walk you through a series of games where you kind of accrue points over the games, one after the other, through your usual way of scoring points, but also through kind of slightly unusual ways or particular targets or goals that you can aim for. And there are certain conditions that apply to the games, and it usually follows a very clever storyline. Particularly, I mean, what Bradley came up with Wings of the Tropics was really cool.
It's great fun,
and a really good gaming experience.
If you're playing with the same group of people all the time, and you know you're going to play a lot of games in a week or a weekend, it's a great way just to give the game some continuity between games. I highly would recommend. And
as we've said before, it's a really cool way of making you or making certain birds more and less powerful. So things that you might not traditionally play, you're suddenly like, yes, I want to play that. Yeah. So the Cactus Wren, without giving too much away from this campaign, there was a particular round where you may have wanted to play more eggs, and so I had a grasslands chain that included the Cactus Wren, and I found it extremely powerful because as long as you've got the cards to discard, that's the main thing. As long as you've got the cards to discard, then it's really good. And if you've got the Gear Falcon down in the wetlands, that's going to encourage you to be gaining cards, and I think that
I suppose the Cactus Wren is a bird that's more beneficial as the game goes on, because as the game goes on, you're going to have more discards to discard and more birds on your board, which means more nest variety. So that Cactus Wren actually later on in the game can become very versatile. So,
and I never found, having played it, I actually never found it difficult to use its power. I found that ultimately, once you're halfway through round 1, you've probably got 3 birds down. And actually, how many times are you just going to be laying eggs blindly, particularly in round 1? You're going to be laying enough eggs to give you the eggs to play further birds, and that's kind of it. And then it might come in more handy later on when you just want to be spinning a point-spinning chain. So no, I really like it. Having said that, my approach to this game would be to not keep it. And I think that's probably just my propensity for a wetlands chain. So I agree, going third's a shame because that Seed Snipe is so good.
Yeah.
If the Seed Snipe was there, then I would probably use my first go to spend a nectar to pick up the tanager and the seed snipe.
That's a given. But if you're playing against players who aren't picking up the seed snipe, then you may as well just leave it there because you've already won the game, haven't you?
Yeah, but that's true. That's true. I think what I'm probably going to do is keep the Gerfalcon and the Chiloe Widgeon. And the reason for that is I think, so the Chiloe Widgeon, when I first see its power, I'm like, is it that great? There's plenty of other cards in the game which just allow you to draw a card without any conditions, and this one is conditional, which doesn't seem great. I think 9 times out of 10 players have more than 2 cards in their hand.
Yes.
Particularly in rounds 2, 3, and 4. And so obviously, if you play that, then and the player to your left is a really good wingspan player, then they might be tactical at having a game where they don't have cards in their hand, which would be really annoying. But I think particularly pairing it with the Gerfalcon, if you play that and then the Gerfalcon played after it, then if you use the Gerfalcon's power, you look at 3 cards, tuck 1 and put 2 back on top of the deck, then you can use the Chiloe Widgeon's power to draw a card that you've already seen and you know is good, or you can go from a different pile and draw a random card. But I think they could pair very well together, and that's why I'm keeping those 2. Obviously, the big challenge here is there's no forest bird and there's no bird that gives you any kind of food. I think when you're playing with hummingbirds, you could usually there's a nectar hummingbird there, so you can not rely on it, but you can give yourself the odd nectar, particularly early on in the game, to give you enough food to get a forest bird down, and particularly if you've got card draw by having a bit of a wetlands chain early on, I think that'll give you enough to get going. And then you could take it from there.
But I mean, if you're just keeping those 2 anyway, you've got enough food regardless to play them both without actually getting any more food. So that works.
You do, yeah. And you can use hummingbirds to get yourself the egg, to get the, you can play the Widgeon, pick up some cards, get yourself an egg, get the Gerfalcon down, and then you're away really, and hopefully then pick up a forest bird.
Birds like the Gerfalcon, which allow you to look at cards from the deck. I'm never sure how this is supposed to be played. So you draw 3 from the deck, right? And then you put 2 of them back on top of the deck. Now, when that bird gets put in the online game, because eventually it will, when you draw cards in the online game, you draw from one deck, don't you? There is one pile, and so you will look at those 3 cards, tuck 1, and then put the 2 that you're returning back on the top of the deck. So those are the only 2 birds you can get. But when you play in person, you can put them back on any of the presumably 3 piles. I presume that's still how you play it, because that's certainly how we play it. So we've actually got 3 draw piles. And so when I put the 2 back, I can put them either on one pile, I can spread them on different piles. And it means that I've got even more flexibility in terms of what pile I draw from. Because if both of the cards are rubbish, I just put them over to one side and I carry on drawing from a new pile. So I don't know what the bird is intended to be. Is it intended to be as is played online, where there's only one draw pile, or is it as intended in person when there's 3? Because the bird becomes very different in terms of how powerful it is depending on which one you play.
Yeah, I agree, and I actually think that there's probably no official answer to this, because in a way it changes the way the bird plays, and it changes, I suppose it changes the power of it. I think it's much less interesting if it's just one draw pile, because effectively you're just saying, I'm going to put these birds back, and if I don't draw them, I just know what you're drawing.
But isn't that the power? That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
But then I think it's way more interesting to put it on 3 piles, because then you kind of get in the next person's head, like, if they put it back because they want it or they don't want it, and then should I go for it? I think that's way more interesting. Plus, also, let's remember that whilst the online version of the game is very good and very popular, and a lot of people play almost primarily online, it's designed to be a game that you play in person, and the online version has been adapted from that. I'm sure that they designed it knowing, let's be honest, they don't think about, it's not that they don't think about these things. When they play tested, I'm sure they played knowing that the game is designed or provided with a tray that gives you 3 piles, and actually the way that the America's expansion has been produced with another tray that has 2 further piles and a pile for your hummingbirds, I think it's quite possible there are people out there who are playing with 5 separate draw piles of birds. I bet there are. I've thought about it setting up for the game, because the stacks get so high if you just use the tray that comes with Oceania. So I can see that. And if you're playing the Gerfalcon with that, then it really makes it more interesting and almost more challenging to keep track of the cards. Where did you put them down again? Which ones did you put where?
Yeah, I must say I made that mistake a lot. I kept putting birds down. So as I said, in my high school score this weekend, I kept picking up 3 birds, tucking 1, putting 2 back on the deck that I knew I didn't want, and then I'd go along the chain, activate my killdeer equivalent, and I'd pick up a bird I'd just seen that I didn't want because I'd forgotten where I put it. So that Gearfalcon, when it originally came out, I wasn't much fussed about it, but now I'm really thinking it's a really strong card because it's effectively, we say, what's the most powerful, well, I say this occasionally, I think the most powerful action that you can do in Wingspan is reset the tray and the 2nd and 4th draw card slot, throw away 1 food to reset the tray because you're looking at the cards before you're drawing them. I think is such a powerful go, and so that Gearfalcon is effectively a free version of that. So if you can combine it with a card that allows you to draw cards, very, very powerful, and I think that's part of the reason I scored so highly at the weekend. I'll put a photo of it in the show notes, actually. My mum obviously enraged my family that I scored so highly, and so the photo that I took, mum was cursing with her fingers, making a rather rude sign at the board.
I've seen that picture. It's very rude of your mum.
But she got the wrong sign to begin, so she actually did like the rock symbol, like where you tuck your 2 middle fingers in, so like that the rock symbol. So there's a photo at the start which is 2 rock symbols in with the photo, so it looks like mum's just thinking that I've got like a really metal board, which I did, to be fair. But Wingspan's not exactly a hard rock metal game, is it? So I'll put a photo in the show notes.
You know, we've been saying it ever since Americas, is that like the addition of scores. I think I was just waiting for someone to say I've got a massive score here, because it's not really happened yet, has it?
Yeah.
I've not beaten my high score from pre-Americas yet, and it sounds like this is the first time you have. Like it was coming. So and I'm quite glad it's come with a Grasslands engine, where, as we said, maybe one of the things that Americas does is downgrade Grasslands. So I'm quite glad that it's happened with a Grasslands engine and just showed, what, there's still room in Wingspan for a good Grasslands engine.
Well, that's the thing. So when I saw my opening hand, I thought, you know what? It will take some work, but I have to lean into it's rare you get presented with an opportunity for a Grasslands engine, and so I just thought I had to do it. So quickly, our fans, Lisa just keeping the Gearfalcon, and the Cactus Wrens are doing exactly what I would do. Me and Lisa, that's 3 weeks in a row that we've done exactly the same thing.
There you
go. Excellent work, Lisa. And the only person who's doing something different is Paul, who's keeping the Gearfalcon, Wilson Snipe, and the Chloe Widgeon. So slightly more along your line of work, but also keeping the Snipe, and he's going to play the Chloe Widgeon first. The Chiloe,
it does look like Chloe when you first look at it, to be fair.
The Widgeon, then the Snipe, and so the other player will at least be halfway to having at least 2 cards in their hand. Oh, that's a good use of the Wilson's.
That's a really good point.
Snipe. So Wilson Snipe.
About that.
All players draw 1 from the deck. If you activate that, then you activate the Chiloe Widgeon. They've already gained a card, and so they'll be halfway there for you to get another card. Very good point, Paul. Thinking about things that we don't think about, so well done there. There will be a link to a photo for next week's opening hand in our show notes, and so if you want to email in, we are fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com, or you can comment on the Spotify episode, or comment on the YouTube episode, or Apple Podcast, or wherever. It will make its way back to us, and we will discuss your play of your opening hand in next week's show. Quick break, Hades?
Yeah, let's go a quick break, and we're going to be back in a moment with our analysis of our previous week's game with Flan. So if you've not seen it yet, now's a good chance to pause, go and watch it, come back to this episode, and if you have seen it, coming right up.
Welcome back to Full Tuck, the Wingspan podcast. We are going to do a bit of a post-match analysis of our game against Flan. So if you don't want spoilers, stop listening now and we'll see you next week. But if you're happy with spoilers, then he is just so damn good at Wingspan, isn't he, Aidan? He is so good at Wingspan. We were bested 133 to 109, I think, just off the top of my head, was the score, and he absolutely annihilated us. And there's a quite telling point halfway through where Aidan just goes, you know what, Adam, I'm feeling pretty confident about this game.
And we got beat by 20 odd points.
That was the turning point, wasn't it? It was 20 odd points. 24, Christ, yeah.
Yeah, he's astonishingly good at building points from the word go. And I don't know whether it was just that game or, I mean, I've not watched as many of his videos, sorry Flan, as maybe you have, but he was, what I just noted reflecting back on the game is that I don't know. I think sometimes the way that maybe I play or maybe the way we played is like you build a chain and then you really get the points later on. You start spinning points late on, spinning a chain, playing big birds, and the points really come in round 3 and 4. But what I think he did really well is from literally his second go after he played his bird, he was building points. He was getting resources, but he was also getting points. And everything he did was about, even plays that were like getting a few resources were all just about, because those resources, I'm going to use all of them to get me points.
I think so. If I could just illustrate your point there. So our start was the barn swallow and the American coot, both in the wetlands. And they are both tuck one card to draw one card. So point spinners, and you see a load of cards, okay? By the end of the game, that barn swallow only had 5 tucks underneath it. So that was the first bird that we played in our wetlands, only had 5 tucks underneath it.
That's terrible.
For reference, Flan played his first go. He played the violet green swallow in his trees. So that is exactly the same. It's a tuck to draw birds. And that had 14 tucks underneath it compared to the 5 that we had under ours. So I suppose my question is for you, is we started with an amazing water chain, but we just didn't convert it. Why did we not convert it into points? I'm struggling. We nearly filled our board. Granted, that's a good thing. So we played 12 birds. But why didn't we convert that into just more tucks? Did we not see the right cards? Did we play it wrong? Should we have done something different?
I think so. I think you're totally right. Ultimately, if you spend half of round 1 trying to play, or essentially, our first 4 goes, we essentially spent playing those 2 tuck and draw cards, right? That's really valuable goes in the game. Your first half of round 1, you really need to make the most of it, I think. And we really learnt into one strategy, which I don't think was a bad strategy. I think playing 2 tuck and draws is a really great start, actually, because you get to see a lot of cards and you're gaining points as we go, which, exactly as I said, Flan does really well. However, I think what we probably did wrong then is when we were drawing cards, we drew cards and we thought, they don't really fit in a water chain, but they might fit in this, in like a foresty chain. So we kind of started to half build a forest chain as well as our water chain. And I think we started to lean away from one strategy. And we probably should have just maybe stuck to our guns and maybe, gambled again at another card draw. But I think, when we've played against Paul in the past, we've been stung by the fact that we've tried to really just draw cards until we get something we like, and then we've ended up wasting turns doing it. So it's a really tricky balance.
I suppose by the end of the game, we ended up with 5 bonus cards. So we almost indirectly pivoted into a bonus card game, which I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And we scored quite well on the bonus cards. And so I suppose in getting those bonus cards that worked, we started playing birds that satisfy more bonus cards. And so we lent away from the tucking game, which, when we called Flan afterwards, we had a quick phone call with him, and he said to us on the phone, he said 2 great starts, both with wasted potential, i.e. his game and our game. I put the phone down and I thought, my God, Flan, you scored 133 in a 2-player game and you're saying wasted potential. Also, by the way, people, Flan has... he started a new social media channel, so I think it's Winging It with Wingspan. He's released some really funny videos of the show. So if you just want some tidbits or maybe some teasers, I would either go to our Instagram channel, which is Full Tuck Podcast, or his, which is Winging It Wingspan. He's posted some really nice videos, especially the end of round goals, Aidan, when he picked us on those damn end of round goals.
Yeah, I mean, that was another point I was going to bring up. Is he is just good at end of round goals, and I mean, we said it going into the game. We know he's good, and we knew that. Obviously, we've said it many times on the pod before that in a 2-player game, one of the real focuses has got to be making sure that you win at least a couple of them, and you certainly score on all of them, but you need to win at least a couple of them, because otherwise, if someone wins all of them, or even 3 out of 4 of them, that's quite a big point swing. So we kind of focused on it, and I think in particular, you know which one I'm going to bring up, but in particular that round 2 end of round goal, which is fish and rats in food cost of cards. For maybe people who are listening who didn't watch the game, going into this round, neither of us had any fish or rats, and we were kind of like looking throughout round 1 and particularly into round 2 for cards that had a fish or a rat, and we had Cooper's Hawk, which cost 1 rat, that we were kind of thinking of playing, but then we drew the black black-crowned night heron, which is obviously it costs a fish and a rat and a witchetty grub, but it's 9 points, and it's a wetlands bird. And we thought, oh, here we go, this could really work for us in a chain. Plus, it's it's 2 fish and rats. So we played it, and then watching Flan's video back where he said, I think his words were, "I'm sure the other end they're feeling really smug right now because they think they're going to win this." And having played, I think the warning sign we really should have seen is that he had 0 fish or rats until the last go of round 2. We should have known he was going to play something. He definitely was never going to leave it.
Yeah, that is such a good point that didn't cross our mind. But I think we had assumed he was going to play something, but how are we to know he was going to play the 3 fish birds? In most circumstances, he'd play a 2 fish bird or a 1 fish bird. So, I mean, regardless, even if we had one, it's not like we went out of our way to play that bird, to be honest, because it kind of fit our game plan overall. And I mean, he still would have beaten us by a good sort of 20 points rather than 24 points if we didn't. I mean, the main pointsman of him was his Galar. I need to apologise. Actually, I should have opened the show with an apology to the fans about my pronunciation of the Galar. Galar, sorry. His Galar ended up, I think, with was it 24 tucks underneath it? I'm just checking quickly. Yeah, 24 tucks underneath his Galar. So that's 12 activations. My issue with the Galar in a 2-player game has always been that's the potential to give your opponent 12 wheats. Now, to be fair, it didn't come off as much as we thought it would. It probably came off about 8 times, would you say, Aidan? 8 wheats?
I think there were a couple of times that it didn't work for us, which is annoying.
But nonetheless, 8 free wheats should have really sent us kind of quite well on our way, especially given we had the azure tit in our trees. So now I look back and I'm like, what did we waste our time doing this game?
I think what I really took away from that is I think when he played it and we said, interesting, we probably both maybe thought the Galar is a great bird, obviously, 2 points, 2 guaranteed tucks, and you don't have to give anything away for that. There's not many cards that allow you to do that in the game. But it obviously you're giving a wheat away. But in a 5-player game, you hand that wheat around, you might give 1 or 2 to each player. That's fine, no problem with that. But in a 2-player game, when you're giving that wheat to the same person every time, it's going to build up. And I think we both thought, okay, actually, we don't mind this. We don't mind being given this wheat for him getting 2 points every time. But I think what it really showed us is actually, no matter what you're giving away, if you really trust, and as Flan clearly did, if you really trust and you lean into a strategy which gains you a lot of points, then you're going to score highly. It doesn't matter. If he's got between the violet green swallow, which is a tuck and draw in the forest, and the Galar, if he's getting food and 3 points and recycling his hand every time he activates those brown powers, it doesn't matter how many wheat he's giving us. He's getting loads of points. So it's fine. He's clearly quite happy to do that. Knowing that he's giving us those wheats because he just knows it's worth it. And I thought that was really interesting.
So I suppose thinking about specifics then, what would we have done differently? And I suppose the take home for us is, number one, he's a phenomenal wingspan player. He made the most of his tree swallow and his Galar. But we didn't make the most of our wetlands chain, did we? That's fundamentally what it comes down to, especially since we played the Northern Mockingbird quite early in round 2. So we had Barn Swallow, American Coot, Northern Mockingbird in a row. Should we have maybe played Gold's Finch in the trees? Should we have played something like a Gold's Finch quite early on in the wetlands just to get up to the 4th space, rather than keep at the 3 that we did for some time? We played the Black-crowned Night Heron last go of round 2, didn't we? Which I suppose is still quite early to have a fully built-up chain.
I suppose that. So I think that maybe, and I don't think this is all of the problem because clearly this doesn't span a 20-point gap, but I think maybe the Black-crowned Night Heron was, in hindsight, maybe not the best play. I think that we had other birds that we could have played with a fish or a rat in, which just would have scored us 2nd place, and we could have just accepted 2nd place early on and then just said, look, bang down Cooper's Hawk.
Yeah, Cooper's Hawk in the trees.
It'll get us a few points. It'll score us on the end of round goal, and let him win. Let him play Black Noddy, no problem at all. Because I think the problem with the Night Heron was we didn't have any eggs coming anywhere, and we had to take quite a few turns during the game where we just gained eggs, and so did he. but I think because we had a card then that meant we had to discard an egg for a food if we wanted to activate the black crowned night heron's power in the wetlands chain, which, let's be honest, if you play a brown power in a chain, it's a bit silly not to. Then we didn't really have the eggs to do it. And I think that was part of our downfall. I also think that
because we could have said, because we've already won the first end of round goal, so we could have said, okay, we let the second one go. We put the Cooper's Hawk in the trees. I think we had the purple martin as well, so we could have instead played the purple martin as our fourth bird in our wetlands chain. Then we'd have had the American coot, barn swallow, northern mockingbird and purple martin all in a row. But I think we did briefly debate that, didn't we? Do we put the purple martin in the wetlands, or do we put the black crowned night heron? The purple martin we'd have had to activate 7 times to get up to the same value of the 9 points of the black crowned night heron. So
the flip side to that is purple martin only costs 1 food, and so it would have saved us food elsewhere to play other birds,
and we'd have seen more cards.
And we'd have seen more cards. So I don't know. It's hard to say in hindsight. I think something else which I've reflected on, which I think has actually genuinely made me change the way I approach Wingspan since the game.
Wow.
Is the way...
Flan does this to us, doesn't he? Flan, I watched his videos a few months ago, and I've changed how I play because of him. He is that good a Wingspan player. I mean, he's the world champ for a reason, isn't he?
The way he approached... the lack of eggs. So we both had the same problem, which was neither of us had any way of getting eggs other than just doing the occasional grasslands activation. And I think we probably, whilst it seems on the face of it quite good to fill your board, if you're the number of eggs it costs you to play birds in the 2-egg cost row, if you're trying to play birds in those column, if you're trying to play birds in those columns, you've got to get quite a lot of eggs just randomly, and you've got to spend quite a lot of turns getting eggs in order to do that. What I remember is looking at Flatten's board at the end of the game, and he only had birds in 1-egg cost columns.
He didn't
crouch.
Yeah.
He literally filled the first 3 columns of each row and didn't get into the 2-egg cost. And it made me think, gosh, do you know what? I don't even think about, it's the 2-egg cost. I probably shouldn't play one there. Maybe it's not worth it. You play it because playing a bird is worth it.
And I think I've got a chain. I need to maximize this chain. I need to get another bird out in this chain. But his chains were good enough that actually you spend the extra go building the chain. That's 1 extra go that you're not activating the galah or not activating the violet green swallow. So it's a really, and
it's also an extra go that you need to activate the grasslands to get enough eggs to put the bird in there and gain the food to put it in there. So actually maybe you're losing 2 or 3 activations of that chain just to play that extra bird. It's just not worth it. So it really made me rethink that, particularly in a game where eggs are not forthcoming. Really thinking about the kind of birds that you're picking, and if you pick up a big point bird but it doesn't quite live in the right habitat for you, maybe think again. Maybe think, where should I be putting it? And I was also just really impressed with his use of when played cards. That the fact that clearly his big hamstring in the game was the fact that he had no card draw, but he needed cards in his hand to tuck underneath the violet green swallow to make that chain work. But the way that he would just find white powers that drew him cards. I mean, the best example...
Indian peafowl,
The Indian peafowl was a great example, but the best example, I think, was the American oyster catcher, which when he played it, we were like, what? Really? But obviously, he doesn't care what kind of cards he gets. All he cares about is he's getting 2 cards from playing that. Yeah. So he's going to gain himself more cards to tuck and draw, and he doesn't mind if they're bad. They could be terrible. It doesn't matter. He's going to get cards to tuck and draw and play cards. And I thought it was a really neat way of playing Wingspan, and it's definitely made me think there's so much of this game I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, absolute pleasure to play against one of the greats of the game. He is, in no doubt about it, the Hall of Fame of Wingspan, and as he rightly proved against us mere mortals last week. Flan, I know you listened to the show, so would you have done anything different with our hand, with our game? Was there a point which you've watched back and you said, actually, that's a mistake, I would have pivoted this way or that way? I would love to know. So, Flan, let us know. Pop us an email. I know you have our details. And then we can maybe discuss it next week if you've got any words of wisdom, because there's us just analysing it but making the same mistakes. So we'll see what you think. Depressing. But you know what? great fun as well. I love these online games. They're so much fun when we play against someone and when we play together, because we never do it in Wingspan, do we? We always play against each other, and it is really fun just to play with you and debate things out live. Yeah. And I hope the fans like it as well.
I hope so. I mean, yeah, I really enjoy it. It's great fun. It's a great episode to record, and it gives us more things to chat about in the next week. So hopefully you all enjoyed it at home. We certainly enjoyed it. Flan, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Maybe you enjoyed it enough for a rematch. I don't know.
Oh,
you tell us.
Oh, you are so brave. David takes on Goliath again.
Hey, look, we've got nothing to lose. No one expects anything of us.
No, that is true. That is true. But if we just keep turning up and keep getting pummeled, then maybe our credit will reduce a little bit.
But maybe we'll go back to playing Paul.
There it is. There's the Paul. I was wondering if Paul was going to get away with it for a whole episode.
I'm so sorry, Paul.
No,
I'm so sorry. That's so unfair. This is in the same week that Paul has messaged to say that he's very kindly coming out to visit us in Australia. So, really not a great way to thank him for doing such a kind thing. But no,
Paul is one of Aidan's distant relatives. By the way, he's not like a super fan. He's not a full Tucker.
Well, he is a super fan. He's a super fan as well. They're not mutually exclusive. He's a super fan as well.
He is. Yeah, he's a Tucker, isn't he? Then,
he's a Tucker. He's a big old Tucker. He's a big Tucker.
So, guys, if you please write in with any of your comments. Yeah. What would you done differently on that game? Actually, we'd like to know what you would do differently. And please let us know what you think Full Tuck fans should be called. That's a very nice question for the fans this week. And then there's always going to be a link to the next week's opening hand in our show notes. Please email in. We are fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you've got something else to say, we're collecting a few comments that we want to discuss on future episodes at the moment. So we will get round to most of them at some point. And have a great week, everyone. Great to see you as always, Aidan. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll chat next week.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Lovely to see you, mate. And hope you all enjoyed the episode. We'll see you very, very soon.